finish your writing exercise?
I'm doing it right now, aren't I?
Do you need more work?
No. I'll continue.
Take her away.
Yes!
Mother! Mother! Don't take away my mother! Mother!
Oh, what a liar. His Majesty comes to see her every day, yet she complains she's lonely. Whatever. Your time is almost up. Let's see if you have any tricks left.
Consort Ching was poisoned by someone.
Poisoned?
This is where it all began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room. As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. Commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum, a national, regional and international digital presence backed by the most experienced and top-notch broadcast professionals in the industry.
A very good evening to you.
The new look Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is truly ahead of the pack. Turn to the mother of broadcasting in Kenya for stories that resonate with our identity, our aspirations as a people united in purpose. Real stories of hard work, of passion, of creativity, of big dreams. Stories that cement our nationhood. Stories that bring us together as one. We take pride in our shared heritage and destiny. KBC. Informing, educating and entertaining Kenyans as one nation. KBC. Kenya's listening. Kenya's watching.
Good morning to you. Thank you for creating time for us. You're just in time for Newscheck. Today, we are going to be focusing, like we usually do on this program, on issues that are shaping the conversation in the country. Right now, we know that we are gearing up to the 2022 general elections, and the political temperatures are quite high in the country. We have seen political leaders traversing different parts of the country, trying to convince the populace that they're the best people to represent them in the next crop of leadership. Among this, we have the young people, and we also have those who are young at heart. And we're going to be talking about the youth and leadership in this particular program, just to understand the value that the young people can add in the going-ons of this particular country, where the young people have failed and what they've done right and what they need to do to just, better, arm themselves to be part and parcel of the electoral process in this particular country. That is going to be forming part of our conversation. And of course, remember, in between the broadcast, we'll also be taking you to different parts of the country, and also even here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, to different functions, as we receive links from our reporters on the ground who are already up and about, following up quite a number of issues for us this particular morning. So good morning once again, and welcome on board. My name is Serfine Achieng, and our sign language interpreter this morning is Lensa Odingo. Of course, in studio, I'm joined by a young person, somebody who has very big dreams, if you may ask me. His name is Friday Kinara. Thank you so much, Friday, for creating time for us. A lawyer by profession. I'd just like to start us off by just giving you a chance to tell us a little bit about yourself, so that we can be able to understand who you are and what you represent this morning.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, especially the privilege that you have given me to express myself, especially in this platform. So I'll first basically start to say that my name is Friday Kinara. I am a lawyer by profession, though I'm yet to really practice. but I'm one also of the young people who shall be aspiring for the presidency in this coming general election. You know, most of the time we have leaders, especially of age, and they're purporting to really understand the pains of the youth that we are facing. But this time we actually want to challenge that and get to ourselves at that very particular platform and get to really share the common pains that especially us as young people that we always go through in each and every day. So we always have a scenario where leaders are purporting really to understand the pains of the young people, yet they have not really worn the shoe of the young people. So we are coming out in this is a platform for us to be able to express really what really affects us as young people and what the problem of this country really is all ailing about. So we are looking forward for the same, and it is a very big platform, and this time we're not taking chances and we're not leaving those chances for them.
You know, I like the energy and the passion that comes out when you're really expressing your desire this particular morning. And you know, the youth, many a times we've had, you know, people say that one of the advantages that they can actually bring on board is the fact that they are energetic, they're innovative, they have the ideas, they have the passion, and they really feel like what is happening today is going to directly affect them. That's why they are the best people to give a chance. But I want you today to help us really understand, open up this conversation for the young people, this leadership conversation. And let's begin by just sort of having a scorecard on, in terms of what the youth have always been complaining about, that they've been blocked out, they've been left out, they are always not part and parcel of the conversation. People discuss for them what affects them. Do you feel it's the fault of the young people, or it's actually the other way around? It's the young people who have failed themselves in terms of coming out and expressing themselves as you're doing this morning? Who is to blame in this equation?
I first want us especially to understand this, that we live in the days when right seems to be wrong and wrong actually seems to be right. We live in the days where the right ways, the right ideas, and the right people are more popular than the wrong ways, and the wrong ideas and the wrong people are more popular than the right ways, than the right ideas and the right people. Actually, currently, of the days that we are living, especially in this dispensation, is where truth is no longer popular. And so in that case, where you find that our people, especially the young people, the current living young people that are existing today, are young people who have lost their livelihood, they have lost their dignity, they have actually lost even their personality, they have lost their independent mind in expressing what really is upon them. If a matter of fact, they've even lost their faith. So we have that kind, if we have such kind of people that exist today, then they are easily manipulated. They are easily manipulated by people who are very wealthy, by people who are very powerful, are easily manipulated by pleasure, by easiness, and by people who are very famous, without really taking advantage and without really having love in their hearts to really get to the problem what is facing the youths.
All right. So what you're saying is that circumstances have made the young people very, very vulnerable.
Exactly.
And it is this vulnerability that some people are taking advantage of to advance their own selfish
their
interests.
own agenda.
If I'm getting you right.
Yeah.
All right. So is it where did it all begin? This vulnerability, where could it be originating from? This lack of faith, this lack of self-drive, lack of self-love. Where could it be originating from for the youth to find themselves in such an unfortunate circumstance?
For me, I have to really say that one of the way I find where it originates from especially is the education system. We have an education system where the young people are just, once they come out of their institutions, they are just mere reflection of other people's mind. They really are not, we don't have an education system which makes them to have a kind of independent kind of thinking. So we have a crop of young people who get out of the institutions of learning and they are just mere machines run by other people's mind. And they are not able of themselves. Actually, we have now we have young people who desire a fixed salary and a fixed amount to do, because that is what the education system has done to them. It is not able to empower them to the extent that they are first able to have
that kind of, they are empowered with industrial skills so that they are in a position to empower themselves. Number one, I could put the blame in our education system.
All right.
Education system that really produces people who are just mere reflection of other people's mind. Because you see, when the young youth, when the youths have left their institutions of higher learning, they are really they don't have sufficient skills so that they can be able to come to the position where they can self-depend on themselves. They're endowed with certain skills where they have to work under someone so that they're able to provide for themselves. That's one. I put the education system in our country. Secondly, our governance has not really empowered the youths. Because one, the way the youths are empowered, we live currently with our youths, number one, who don't have land. Majority of our youths, and this is a conversation that we should really have, and we should face the facts. You know, we should face the facts that majority of our youths, they don't have land, number one. The majority of our youths, they cannot access to higher learning institutions because the school fees there. Lastly, the students were actually complaining, and they were industry because they were complaining of school fees. So the majority of our young people are not even able to venture into the even higher learning institutions. Number three, they are not even endowed with industrial skills to be able to depend on themselves. Number four, they are not even able to access loans in the first place because they don't have the collateral as young people, so then they can be able to do business. This is the problem that is facing the young people. They have nothing to resonate with. They are the basic needs that they need to meet each and every day. They are not in a position to be able to meet those basic needs. So that is the kind of environment that the young people find themselves.
All right. Friday, it's good that we have you here because I just want us to be as practical as possible about this. What is your idea of empowerment? Because you're talking about how the government probably has failed to empower the young people. What is your idea? What would be the best way of empowering the young people? You've talked about, you know, lack of access to loans, for example. If my memory serves me right, the government has put in place quite a number of avenues in which the young people can access funds and as capital to start different businesses. There is the youth fund. There is the provision to come together as a group and, you know, apply for such loans that attract very minimal, if no interest at all. There is also a chance for those who come from vulnerable families who've managed to perform well in their high school examinations can access loans from their education loans board to be able to go into these institutions of higher learning. I know the government cannot do everything, but we have to give credit where it's due. There is something that the government has done. What is it that you describe as the ideal form of empowerment?
You have actually spoken about that the government has made provisions for the young people to be able to access loans.
And even opening up TVET institutions right now, there's a big investment in TVET institutions just to make sure that it's no longer about the academics, but it's also about the practical skills that can be applied in the job market. Are we going in the right direction when it comes to youth empowerment from where you sit? Are we getting it finally?
The reality that is actually on the ground. Sometimes I always wonder that these things they are kind of boardroom plans that are always planned. Because the reality is the young people, especially with the CRB, the young people are, the majority of the young people actually right now, they are not able even to access the loans because they are listed in the CRB. And the way you say that the youth fund, that it is created about the youth fund, statistically when you go to the ground, most of the young people enterprises, they are not even able to access that youth fund. It is quite complex. Number one, there is no civic education for the young people to really understand how they're able to access that very particular loan. And most of the young people you're speaking about, that there is a youth fund that is organized by the government. That is actually in the boardroom, it's in the books. But the reality in the ground, the young people are not able to access those loans. And that is actually the kind of conversation that we should now start having. Because now if you're saying there is a particular fund that you have actually allocated for the young people, How are they able to access it in the first place? How many statistically, out of 100%, how many youths have the knowledge that this is how you are able to access these particular loans? How much is it given to the youths, especially to be able to get that kind? And you've spoken actually about TVET. The irrelevancy of the industrious kind of the TVET. You know, we want things that they can be able to equally relate with and make them very competent in the market.
All right, I want you to clarify that a little bit. You've used the word irrelevancy of skills.
Yes, exactly.
I want you to clarify that a little bit. Okay, fine. We're investing in TVET institutions, trying to sort of make the skills more practical, things that are needed in the job market. Are you saying that they are not aligning with what the job market is demanding?
That is exactly. They're not aligning even with what the job market is demanding. Number one, especially when you come to once we really train them, do we have kind of factories or manufacturing kind of industries that are able to absorb all of them? Not even absorbing all of them. Actually, most of the things that the TVET has reduced our young people is to be like carpenters, be like metal work kind of, the real skills that are supposed for us to be able, like for them to be able to produce even cars. That is exactly the kind of skills we want, because then they can be able to compete locally and internationally.
But we cannot all go there. We need carpenters. We need people who can build, we need those people also in the society. We cannot all do one thing. We cannot all be manufacturing vehicles. Do you want to tell me that there are skills that are totally relevant today and we need to stop investing in them?
And we need, when you say about skills, we need very well advanced skills. You see, we are living in a very first world countries. We are living in the world is quite becoming quite very industrious, quite very competitive as well. So when we speak about the skills that we should particularly endow with the young people, we should not speak about skills of joining a bed together at this very current time. Joining a bed together is not going to take any other young person and going to empower any other young person to make a livelihood out of that. If particularly, tell me actually, right now especially, let me give you a practical example, especially when it comes even into construction. Construction, we have currently where we have the president with his project is making the Mombasa highway. Now I wanted to tell you that the young people, especially in that project, they have just been reduced to welding people because the skills, the company there, they're saying we don't have sufficient skills that the people are able to be able to come up with even construction of roads. The reason why our government always turns out to international companies and organizations and give them those jobs, because it is when it looks internally and to really see the kind of skills that our people are endowed with. There are no really skills that are sufficiently enough to be able to create those mega projects for us. So we are then reduced to be welders in those roads. We are reduced to digging trenches. Young people are reduced to digging trenches on a very major project that is taking place within their nation.
Their borders. Wow.
Quite embarrassing.
Wow. It's good that you've said that. Do you think then we have the potential to produce those skills within our borders? Do you think we can? Do you think our youth have the potential to be able to do and be in charge of those big projects? Without having to import?
The question that actually we should be able to ask even our government. Why is it that the best of our brains are just given to the medical courses, and no sooner than they're done than they are out for industrial, they're striking of their rights? Why is it that the best of our brains are not really given to manufacturing? So that we are able to create a capacity where young people are able to be sent to industries where they're able to manufacture, where they're able to come up with to be able to construct those mega roads, especially even engineers in our nation as young people. Even when they're doing their industrial kind of practical trainings, they're not even in a position even to construct roads, simple roads in the backyard, really. They are not able to do that. What kind of skills are we really employing and giving to our young people? Now that is the question that we should ask ourselves. Ask yourself, if the nation, the best brains of the nation, are given to the medical platform, the medical practitioners, and you see the way the medical practitioners youngsters are being frustrated. No sooner than they're done with their schooling for the 6-year schooling, they are out on the streets. That is exactly a reflection of the best brains that we have in our nation.
So do you feel then that we have failed the young people? It's not the young people who have failed themselves.
The government has really failed the young people.
But this same government, if I understand this correctly, it is their courtesy of people who actually exercise their democratic right to allow that government to be in that particular place. If you look at our population and how we are scattered, the young people form about 50% of the entire population in this country. You want to tell me they do not have the power? They are so powerless that they cannot even be able to decide and have a voice in who is part of this government, the government of the day. Because if you're all going to blame the government, then I don't find this fair. I mean, just talk to me about who has the power to have that government there, the government that then makes these decisions.
It is quite true that especially when even it comes to the young people, that we are the majority really, and we can make a difference.
Yes. So what is the missing link here?
Now,
that's what I want to understand.
Number one, the way I just said earlier, that because of the kind of economic strains that the young people are facing, they are easily manipulated to make the wrong decisions. And this is where I'm actually calling upon the young people to hold their leaders into accountable. Because we cannot go to an election, or rather we cannot go to a particular people come to seek for their leadership kind of interest, when we really know they don't have the best interest of the young people at heart. And this is what I have to say. We have reduced the election, we have reduced the seeking of leadership positions into actually a competition of personalities, into a competition of tribalism, into a competition of people who are wealthy, than it becoming a competition of ideas. And that is why we have, even when it comes to elections, it is about road shows. It is really about road shows. It is about who pulls the right musicians to the road show. It is about who knows how to bring out the abusive language to the other, who is able to make more people to be drunk and really shout out. And we are not really narrowing it down. What do you really want to do for the young people? And this is why I want us to call, we need to get to a point where we need to call to the young people that it has come time to take things seriously into our own hands. And let us be honest and true to ourselves. Let us call sin by its right name. Let us stand for the right and say, fine, you have come to ask for the leadership position from us. What indeed do you have to do for us? Because then we should be able to stop being manipulated. We should say no this time to alcohol. We are not drinking until you tell us exactly what you want to do for us. We are not dancing for you. We are not cheering for you. We are not indulging ourselves in those abusive kind of way of seeking for election. And we are not reducing this contest into party contest and nini. We are reducing this contest into ideas. What do you really have that you want to do for us? That is exactly, so that then the young people should be empowered that let us find the right leadership qualities when it comes to electing of the kind of people we want to lead.
Before we get to who is this leader, who is this person who has the right qualities, let me just probe you on something. Haven't we had this before? Every electioneering period, this gospel of the youth need to know what they want. The youth, you ought to decide who is the best person who can represent your interests. Haven't we had this before? That you should desist from being used. This gospel has been preached every time we're about to hit, the ballot. Is anyone even listening?
And that is why now it has come time for us, the youth, to be able to stand for those leadership positions. If anything, actually, I want to vie for the presidency of this country next coming general election. And my campaign is not built on the kind of hype that the kind of people we always displayed. It is no longer about, we need to get to vote for those people who are feeling the common pains that we are in. Now, the problem is this actually we always face, especially when it comes to electing of the leadership that be. We have the kind of leaders that they're saying they know the problems of unemployment, yet themselves, even their children are not employed. They are employed. They have never known the pain of what it means to be unemployed. They have never known the pain of actually what it means to pay even rent for the last 30 years in their lives. They have never subscribed to what it means to pay rent. For the last 10 years, they have never known even what it means to board a public means, and the pain that is there for someone who wants to make it from a place like Utawala to coming to town, and he has to spend almost 150 shillings coming to town, and 150 shillings going back to Tawala, 300 shillings a day. They cannot relate with that kind of pain because they don't board public means. We have the kind of leaders who are saying we want to serve your interest. They have never, they don't even live in those kind of neighborhoods where they feel those pains. So the question then I should ask the young people to ask themselves is this: if you have a leader who's saying that I know the problems that you have, but he doesn't struggle to put food on his table, how does he know where the shoe really pinches?
Must they have gone through that experience for them to want to do good for their community?
They must
be having the
current experience of what we are really going through. I appreciate the fact that for people who have really worked hard and they're able to make it themselves, and they're able to get to the point where
what if you are just privileged? What if you are just privileged and it's not your fault? Don't you have a right to be a leader in your community?
That's a good question. That what if you're just privileged and you have not really get to experience this thing? Then you should come to the ground and feel the pain that we, the young people, are feeling. You should come and relate with us. It is not time for you to come with hype. It is not time for you to come without really having a one-on-one conversation with the young people, because you have not had the privilege to experience the pains that you have been experiencing. For example, this is the kind of question I'm asking. If you were born in a family where you have never been able to use public transport really in the entire of your life, and you really want to serve the people, you need to get to the point, even practically, even Jesus Christ, when he wanted to save humanity, he came down and became as a man so that he may relate with us. We just want the kind of leaders who are honestly having the current experience and they're relating with the current pains that the young people are facing. You cannot say that the problem of unemployment, especially there is this narrative that is really being used about the hustlers, about the hustler nation, about that. It is a very good narrative when you hear it, but this is the question. The young people, we don't want to be hustlers in our lives. We want to really make it in life. We don't want to live a life of hustlers. A life of hustlers is a life of pain, sorrow, and suffering. That is not who we are. Don't call us hustlers, really, honestly. We don't want to be hustlers. We want to achieve life. And life is so short.
All right.
And we want to live and to make it to the basic needs of life.
Now that you've touched that button.
Exactly.
That hustler button.
Yeah.
Friday Kinara, at this particular juncture, you've made that decision, that very bold decision. You want to become the president.
Yes.
If the young people of this country were to hold you to account and ask you what you have for them, what is it that you are bringing on the table for them? Having passionately spoken about their plight and, sort of expressed what you think the youth of this country need, what is that agenda that you have for the young people if you were to be given a chance to become president?
This country is really built on like 5 pillars of governance and 5 systems of governance. One of the system is the business and economy system, and this another let me speak about the business and economy system really of our nation. We have laws and policies that enrich one class of people by the oppression and suffering of another class of people. That's the kind of laws that we have. We have businesses that are built on taking advantage of the people's misfortunes, of the people's weaknesses to enrich themselves. For me especially, if I am elected to be the president of this country, number one, I need to get to the point and say, we are no longer borrowing. We are no longer going to incur international debt. That is exactly the kind of conversation I want us to start having. And we need to get to the we need to get to the point where our nation as a government, as a government, where we need to be debt free. By us paying the international debt that we owe, and even the local one. The government owes a lot of companies, a lot of organization. It has incurred a lot of penalties that it is not in a position to really pay them back. So for a government to really work best, first of all, we need to be a government which is debt-free. And then the other thing is, we need to get to produce 80%. We need to manufacture 80% of what we consume. We are a nation that is more of consumers than producers. We cannot produce even simple earphones, even radios, honestly. The suits we wear, the shoes we wear, the food, everything else, the seat we sit on, the beds, everything, the materials. We are more of consumers than producers.
Let me take you back to the borrowing issue as we continue even with the manufacturing agenda. If we don't borrow, what then would be your tactic or advice in terms of how then do we fund our development projects? Is there something that you have that can actually work in terms of how we build this nation, how we sustain ourselves, how we live within our means without having to depend on the external funding or the borrowing?
To be very honest, we need to get to a time where we start saying, let us cut our coat according to our size. Let us just wear and cut that coat according to our size. You see, we want to measure in very major government developments, and that is exactly the mega projects that we want to do. Yet we cannot
even
necessary,
if you ask me.
But we cannot be in a position even meeting the basic needs of the people. So if we have to really do the mega projects that we need to do, but let us start first. Where do we need to start with? We need to start with the basic needs of the people. We cannot say that we are building very mega roads, wide roads in the first place, yet we cannot even feed our people. Our people cannot even have the simple basic need of shelter. So for me, really, this is what I'm saying. Unless we first meet the very basic needs of the people, let us then avoid really borrowing a lot to invest on the mega projects of our nation. Let us first have a honest conversation. Let us first meet the very basic needs of the people. Especially, let me, for example, say this. How do you relate with a man or a young person, and you say that you want to open up those very mega projects that the government is doing, if this very young person does not have the basic necessities that he cannot be able even to access education to the highest levels? We need to make those very basic needs very free to everyone, especially basic need like education. Education needs to be offered free for everyone to be able to access, all the way from primary school, secondary school, higher learning institution. All this is supposed to be made very basic. Like, for example, health. Health is supposed to be made to be very basic for the people, and they're able to access it all the way. So you see, we have an health cover which really doesn't cover all the expenses of the people. Those are the very basic needs that we need to provide to the people, even before we get to these major projects. And let me say something about these major projects. We get to the major projects and we don't have the principle of maintenance. Recently, we make roads no sooner than the contractor is done doing them than they stop maintaining them. We don't have the language of maintenance. So we move to other projects without even maintaining the ones we have. So for me, my policy will be maintain before you even build any other.
All right. I understand your strategy, but I just want to also still connect it to the fact that probably we could be investing in these development projects to open up our country for investors, to open up our country for those who are doing business to be able to transport their goods from one point to the other, to the marketplace with ease, if that road is constructed. Still a way of boosting the economic muscle of the populace. We could be investing in these big hospitals so that the populace can be able to access quality healthcare. It's not just about putting food on the table and ensuring that every mwananchi is fed. Don't we find relevance in also why we should be investing in these development projects? And if so, what would be the best way to get funding for this that would not hurt us even further, economically speaking?
If I may use the example that you have quickly said, that we opening this road so that we're able to transport goods from one point to another. The truth is, this is exactly that we need to get to the point and face it right now. The mega projects that you're saying that we need to transport goods from one point to the other, really, who are the owners of those mega trucks that are transporting those goods from one point to the other? It is not the young people. It is not those who are vulnerable. These mega projects are just entirely the rich, are serving the interest of the rich. As we are just simply saying, first of all, we need to get to the point, and this is what I really have to insist. For as much as we want to blind us that we are serving, really, we are opening up the economy that and all that. The young people, first of all, they're telling, this is exactly what they're telling. We will want to advance this country to be a first world country. But this time we're telling our leaders this. We first want you to serve our very basic needs. We want you to serve first our very basic needs. Then we can start having a conversation from there. And the basic needs for us, especially we are defining as the young people, is this. Education is something that makes us have at least the privilege to be able to have a fair fight in life. We should not at any given time, resources should never be the barrier for anyone who wants to learn. So that is exactly a government that cares for its people should be able to say any young person who wants to empower, because education is empowerment. It's able to say, stop providing us loans. We don't want those very particular help loans. Make it simply free. We want to walk to class and learn. We don't want to be able to get to those strenuous kind of like we are able to access those loans of high loans.
But how sustainable is that? If you can be able to take up that responsibility as a country and say we are going to offer these essential services for free, yet we are struggling economically, how sustainable is that particular strategy? And I just want you to convince Kenyans this morning, if you have anything that can actually work in terms of helping that common mwananchi to be able to afford the basic education, not to get it for free, but they can be at a position where they can afford. Is there something that you feel can work to help that person?
The government can always, I know the government has done something to do subsiding of the school fees, really, that it has done. So that the people that, but again, that is not any sufficient in any way. But for this reason, that is exactly what I was saying, that
because if you have to offer it for free, year in, year out, can we afford to sustain it? That every time somebody has given birth to a child, then it is the sole responsibility of the government to educate this child from the time they are young to all the way in the academic life. Can we do this for every Kenyan in every part of this particular country? Is it even possible?
The loss of billions, especially that go to corruption, if those billions were invested even in education, they will be sufficiently be able to provide for the education system or for the young people to be able to go to the institution. Number one, we are supposed to reduce our spending, really. Number one, and the way we reduce our spending, we need to calm down the corruption levels in this country. We need to have a leader who is saying, because, you know, once you are corrupt, it means we are not be able to service this kind of free services that we're offering our people, the very basic needs to our people. And for that reason, the government then needs not to lose even one shilling on corruption, really, because the amount of billions that the government is losing into corruption, it is sufficiently able and enough to be able to school our children. An example then I really want to say especially, and this duplication of services that we have. Now, the kind of, when you say about leadership, really, that those, now we want to introduce a model of leadership where we will be paying the MCAs a lot of money, we'll be paying the members of parliament a lot of money, we'll be paying the senators a lot of money, we'll be paying the governors a lot of money, we'll be paying all that kind of salary. Honestly, what is really important to the people? Is it the salary that we want to serve you so that you are able to meet your basic needs, you're able to fly yourself out at the expense of a young person in this nation who's not in a position to access education? We need to be real and get to the fact. Do we want to invest on those very mega projects when we have almost a half of our people who are not really having access to higher learning education system? We need to be very honest enough, especially even, let us come to the health issues, especially in our nation. And let us have an honest conversation on that. Health, Our people are not, they're not able to access the health cover is not able to access the entire expense that whenever they are able to be sick. And we need to make it entirely free for our people.
I just want to take you back, and forgive me for doing this. How do we, change the narrative in terms of this dependency culture? I agree with you that a majority of Kenyans cannot be able to access and afford these essential services, courtesy of what circumstances they could be going through, because maybe joblessness, or because maybe their income is low and they cannot be able to cater for all this. How do we change the narrative so that they can be able to depend on themselves and sustain themselves and their families, so that the burden on the shoulders of the government is lifted a little bit and the government can then focus on other things? Because I find this free providing these services for free is a good thing, is a step in the right direction, but in the long run, how sustainable is it? Can we afford to do this for, say, 40 years?
The sustainability is exactly what you're asking. First of all, as much as we want to get, how can we be able to sustain that? But let us first just agree, for the very basic needs, we want the government to make them very free, accessible.
So you insist tax rate, they have to be free?
They have to be free. But I want to build up on that. They have to be very free in the context that the tax that the Kenyan person really pays, it is sufficiently enough to be able to provide for the basic needs of the people, and they need to be very free. That is the language that we should start having there, for us to be able to be at the same grounds with other people. But the sustainability now is what you're able to bring into place. And this is where I want to borrow a little bit from the knowledge, especially I have from the scriptures, the Bible itself especially. When the children of Israel were leaving the land of Egypt, coming to the land of Israel, when they get to the land of Israel, they were able to be given land, so that they be able to sustain their livelihoods by industriously getting involved in the land and the produce, and they were trained of an industrial skill in that very particular time. Now for me, this is exactly what I have. In this country we have a lot of bare land. A lot of bare land that is not put into place, into use. A lot of bare land. And this is exactly what I want to say. Instead of the government trying to empower the young people in saying that it is providing the very particular loans, which we don't really see where the loans are, how about providing land to the people, to the young people? That's land that is bare, so that they go and we drill boreholes in those lands that is bare, so that at least a young person knows that I've been given a certain acreage of land with the government, and then I'm able to produce, and that government is able to say that any young person who goes to farming, for example, the government will take it upon itself to be able to consume the products of that land, so that it can do the value addition. And then the government, because the government has capacity to even export our foods to be able to so that's the kind of ideas that I'm hoping that the government should be able to bring forth, because this is the point. If me as a young person, I'm able to be given an assurance that if I go to farming and whatever I produce, the government will be able to come in and consume that particular thing that I produce, then that is the surety that I can be able to venture into farming. And then this is what I also want to say, that it needs to get to the young people and tell them that we need to get the point, if you are able to produce, we shall consume. That is the policy. That should be the policy.
Or offer the market
for the young people. So the young people are given that, what do you want to produce? Others have an interest in farming. The government should assure the young people that if you have an interest in farming, if you go to farming, we shall consume the products that you have. What do you have an interest in? Manufacturing. What do you want to manufacture? If you manufacture, we shall consume for you, like clothes, the cloth line. If you if you're able to produce, we shall be able to do what? To consume, to link up with the market that is in place. It should be the government prerogative to consume, that which the young people produce. Because that is how you empower the young people really to get out of the pain, the suffering, and the kind of poverty that we are experiencing today.
Friday, your energy is infectious, and your passion expressing yourself about the plight of the young people is just on another level, I must admit.
That is the truth. The honest truth, let me tell you, the honest truth is,
I'm just about to ask you. I was just about to ask you, who hurt you, for lack of a better term, but just to mean that I want to understand the genesis of this passion, this drive to want to lead in this country, and why leave member of county assembly, the senatorial position, the member of parliament. You left the governor, you said no, and you said this top seat, presidency, that's what I want to do for this country. Where is it coming from, and what drove you to decide that you want to lead and you want to be the president?
Presidency is what has the greatest influence, especially the decisions that are made by the presidency is what really affects the young people. That is where, if it is fixed at the presidency, believe me the problems that we are facing as young people will be fixed. And this is what I have to insist, especially when it comes to, let us, this coming election, let us listen to the leaders who really are relating with the pains of the young people. Especially, this is what I want to ask you. We need even to have the daily briefings of the unemployment of the young people. How do we have a nation that honestly, since independence, that the majority of the young people are unemployed and it is not declared a pandemic? This is the real pandemic, that where we have more than 50% of the young people unemployed. Do you know what it means if more than 50 young people are unemployed? It means that they are struggling to pay their rents. It means they are struggling for shelter. It means they are struggling what to eat. It means they are struggling to provide for their loved ones, for the young ones. It means they are struggling in every, socially, they are struggling education-wise, economic, in all that, the health-wise. You even pray, the prayers of even the young people is that sickness does not come in your household, because you may not be in a position to be able to sustain it. For me, I really want to insist, especially to the leaders and to those who really are asking for leadership position, and to the government, please come to the ground. The young people are bleeding. They are bleeding of the pains that they are going through, and no one is really getting to what they're experiencing are, and no one is really getting to provide for them a solution. And let me quickly, even for example, say, and this is something that I really have to say, how, what good interest is it that is there, especially even when it comes to the current pandemic that we are facing of COVID-19. For as much as that is the pain that we're facing, which I really acknowledge that the government is doing its share part to really alleviate and to take measures so that we're able to go through this. But of what really is it that you should close down the night economy? Because we are unemployed. So if you face, you are adding more problem to it. The night economy is what provided jobs to the young people. If you close down the night economy, and let us look like even for masks, I am one of the advocates of people that should be wearing masks, especially in public places. But ask yourself, is this, the police officers it has become a new employment to them. They are arresting the young people. A young person who is unemployed again is arrested, and again, because of, they are saying that they're purporting for social distance, really, but when they arrest you, they put in a same vehicle, which there is no really social distance that is being practiced there. We need to be very honest and have an honest conversation. For as much as we need, for example, we need to advocate the wearing of masks, let there be no laws that arrest these young people. They're subjected into more pain and suffering with their own government purporting to have the best interest of them at heart when it is really hurting them. So that is something I must emphasize, that even it comes as we are taking mitigation measures to alleviate this COVID-19, we should not really put the young people into arrest.
All right, but we still encourage that, everyone should play their part.
Yes, exactly, they should do that.
If there's something you can do that is recommended and requested that you do, if you are needed to wear a mask properly, you just do it to avoid trouble, right?
Do it, yes.
Right? Oh, okay, let's talk about back to your vision and your ambition to become president. I just want to get to hear from you what you think as a country we need for somebody that we will be electing to be in that particular capacity. This person needs to have which qualities for him or her to be able to help us address some of the things that are ailing this particular country. What are those issues?
One of the qualities that I really am looking forward is to have a president who is wise, who seeks for wisdom and understanding and insight. A president who is honestly God-fearing. A God-fearing president who relates with the pain and suffering and sorrows of the people. A president who is honest and true to himself. A president who honestly loves the people. Who loves the people and who can come and be honest and say, I know that the pains you're going through and I am doing everything else to be able to do and to lift you up from this kind of pains that you're suffering from. And this is what I am doing. This is the conversation that I want us to have. We need to have an honest president who relates and comes down to the ground and says, fine, let us have an honest, what are you facing and what can I be able to do for you? A president who comes down and relates to us, who speaks to our pains, who speaks to our suffering. And this is what exactly I'm looking for. Apparently, the kind of leaders I'm seeing currently, and I'm very, to be honest, the people who have declared that they want to be the president of this country, without even mentioning names, is that the truth is, I don't see if they have the love of the people at their heart, number one, because that should be the driving principle for anyone who wants to render services to the people. You need to love the people. And why do I say they don't love the people? Because they manipulate the people. They don't share ideas. When I see them in their campaign trails, they come driving in their top-notch cars, in their top-notch helicopters, in their top-notch convoys. They are discussing about party politics, who is who and who's who. They are calling us hustlers and all that, and all that kind of narrative really that does not seek to relate to the ideas of the people. I am looking the kind of president who entirely will come down to the people and speak ideas and ideas only. Don't talk about parties. Don't talk about this other politics. Talk about ideas. Talk about how we will seek for God's wisdom to be able to help us to relate with the pains. And another thing, qualities that I'm looking for especially, presidents of integrity, honesty, humility. I don't see humility in the kind of leaders that are currently seeking for the presidents of our nation. I don't see that kind of humility in them because they're not able. They are boasters. They are proud. They know that they have it all. They know that they can manipulate the people because apparently God has somehow made it possible for them to be able to access to the wealth, and they're not able to relate with that. Then for me, especially when what am I giving? What if so God allows it to be so? I have the honest love of the people at heart. I will seek for constant wisdom, understanding, and insight from God on how best to govern the people. I will seek to know why is it others are employed and others are not employed, and why should I be comfortable if our people are jobless, and what can we be able to do? Why should I be able to sit pretty when people are suffering in the city, when people are suffering all over, and what are we able to do? Those are the daily briefs that we should be able to have.
All right, Friday, the reason I took you through that is because I wanted to understand from you if you know the significance and the magnitude of power that comes with this position that you're vying for. And I also want to ask you, now that you've eyed that position and you want to lead us in that capacity, do you feel that the country is ready to entrust that position with a young person? It has not happened before in history. Somebody your age becoming a president in this particular country. Maybe young, yes, but not as young as you are. Do you think we are ready as a country to make that decision?
Two things. We are ready to make that decision because of this. The majority of the voters are young people. And the young people, if they see a young man they can be able to trust, I assure you, because most of the time we have gone to election is because we have gone to elect a lesser evil. We have not really looked at, because we can say, Okay, fine.
Those are really unfortunate words.
Yes, that's the kind of environment that we have been operating
really
in the past.
Yeah.
Because we have gone to election to vote for a lesser evil, really. We have not really looked, especially for me, now that I have always voted from the time I was of a majority age to be able to exercise that right of voting. Most of the young people, or rather most people, go to vote because it is just a lesser evil. They are voting, and because now they have not that right person to be able to vote for, they vote along tribal lines or along someone who's able to manipulate them more. But trust me, if the people see the right person, they are able to trust. If they are able to see that this person has the best interest of them in their hearts. Number one, the young people are the majority young people, and I'm appealing to the young people. Let them vote someone who can be able to, who has the same experience as them, because the young people are the real voters. Number two, it is different this time because we want to vote. They're going to vote for someone who shares the common experience that they're having, the common pains that they are going through, the common kind of sorrow that they are going through. Because now, let me tell you, the young people are saying this, that we are no longer exercising that right of voting to give to someone who has never, for the past for 10 years, has never known what it means to pay rent, has never known what it means to board public means, has never known what it means to feel unemployed, has never known what it means to lack food on the table, has never known what it means to really lack that medical cover when you are sick. Because for them, they have the privilege to go to the best hospitals. And actually, we have the current, it's quite unfortunate, and I must say that we have even the best of our leaders. Whenever they are sick and whenever their kids are sick, they don't go to the common hospitals that we have, really, the common. They don't go to the Kenya National Hospital, the Kenyatta National Hospitals in the first place. They go to the high-ended private hospitals in the first place. So they're looking for the common person who goes, even when they are sick, they subscribe to the common facilities or that are provided with the people. The two things in this coming general election that really, and the kind of qualities that the young people are looking for. Number one, they're looking for the young people who are able to relate with their pains, because that is the kind of experience they are going through.
Is that a guarantee that being young, you'd actually relate with the plight of the young people? We've seen quite a number of young leaders who've also been given a chance to lead, and not all of them would say have really delivered on that promise to really represent the young people. So is being young a guarantee that you're going to speak for the young people in this country?
Being young and having proven that you have the right character for you to be able to do it, that is quite very significant, because the kind of young people that especially you're speaking of, we always see there is an exercise of moral decay, especially. Even whatever they really do, it's quite of, you can always see the kind of even association, the kind of even acts that they operate in. You always have the feeling that they don't know really the pains that they're facing. But I'm telling you, it changes when you have a young person who's really, his principles is built on good character, who really has the aspect of a God-fearing young people. And we always saw the examples. They are different even in the Bible when it came to young people who are God-fearing, young people who had the best interest of the people at heart, young people who did not subscribe to the way of manipulating the young people and exercising the kind of political mimics and mediocre and craftiness to be able to get into those leadership positions. If you have the right young people who believe in the right, though the heavens fall, the young people who will call sin by its right name, the young people who will stand on the right kind of principles. Because now we have, even when you say that is the problem especially that faces the young leaders, because we have young leaders who don't really stand for the right principles. But if we have the young people who have the right principles, who actually not even have the right principles, whose their principles are godly, then we will have the right, the young people will be able to subscribe to those very young people. So for me, especially, I'm looking and I'm inviting all the young people to come. If you have the love of the young people, if you have the love of godly things, if you have the love of serving your country really the right way, this is the time. And if you have the one who experienced the common pains, because right now we are not going to subscribe the kind of people who are not going to experience the common pains. And this is the right, even where they stay. How can you say that you want to clean the filthiness and the dustiness of certain neighborhoods when even you don't have an experience of even staying there in those neighborhoods in the first place? We need to get to the reality and ask ourselves the injusticeness that we are facing. Why is exactly other people are comfortably staying in very leafy suburbs, which is not wrong to stay in those leafy suburbs, but why you are in the leadership position and you're not changing the current environment of the other people? Make them their better lives as well. Clean their streets, remove the filthiness from their neighborhood so that they have a better chance in livelihood to even raise their kids as well in a better environment. That is what exactly we are saying.
All right, Friday, so what's your game plan? Because for you to achieve this ideal leadership environment that you've described for the country, there has to be a game plan, something that will help you propel yourself to that particular position and to be able to deliver on the promise that you have given Kenyans. You know our current political atmosphere, the way it operates. You have to work with like-minded people in the political space. There is a lot that comes into play for you to succeed as a politician and as a leader in this country. What is it that Friday Kinara is going to do that is going to be different, that is going to be like a breath of fresh air for Kenyans?
Of course, one of the challenges that especially the young people are facing when it comes to the asking for this leadership position really and sharing our ideas honestly is finances really. Because this country, there is a notion that if you don't have the good finances, you're not able even to come to even ask for the presidents of this nation. That is where we have actually left the presidency for the people, the rich, and the young peasant, the poor will never really be presidents of this country. And it is quite sad that the poor can never even exercise to be leadership position. But let me say that leadership is about the gift and talent that God has given you really. It's not it should not be pegged on finances, and this is exactly what I want to say, that we need to get to the point, we need to shit ourselves that it is entirely finances. This country, especially if you want to be the president, people always ask that, do you have the finances that it takes? Do you have the connection that it takes, especially?
You know what? Let's just pause there. I'll be probing you more on that. I want to understand what plan you have, because you're going to need a very good plan for you to implement the dream you have for this particular country. We'll be talking about that right after this particular break. Let us just catch a breath as we take this break right now. Stay with us. This is Newscheck. Today we are talking about the youth and leadership. I'm having in studio Friday Kinara. He's a lawyer by profession and has very big dreams for himself and for this country. Join us on the other side of the break for this discussion and more.
Waomba wenzangu, kama vile mimi ufanya, weka pesa yako kwa panga account juu KDIC imekuhakikishia iko safe. Weka kitu kwa panga.
Be sure, check out for a KDIC sticker in your banking hall. KDIC, protecting your deposits.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the Popos. Huh?
Drama.
Did he assault the Queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Nissan Serena ndio hii, na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS. alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Finish your writing exercise.
I'm doing it right now, aren't I?
Do you need more work?
No. I'll continue.
Take her away.
Yes.
Mother! Mother! Don't take away my mother! Mother!
Oh, what a liar. His Majesty comes to see her every day, yet she complains she's lonely. Whatever. Your time is almost up. Let's see if you have any tricks left.
Consort Ching was poisoned by someone.
Poisoned?
In my shoes with some bright color socks. Time out, but me nah go wear no flip flops. Cause none of me so mood. We just a walk and a groove. Come make we rock and groove.
It was a case tonight. Girlfriend a request the love cause she said feel right.
If you don't do me right, somebody's gonna get in line.
A woman like you, oh, I don't deserve it. Together. Here we go again. 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 Here we go. Here we go again.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, this is Newscheck. We are on the second part. Today we are discussing youth and leadership in the country, just dissecting the role of the young people in adding value into the leadership of this particular country. In studio, I have been having this conversation with Friday Kinara. Friday is a young person with a vision and a mission, on a mission to become the next president of this particular country. Friday, people are loving your energy. Brian Dunn, morning Serfine, say hi to Friday. I'm watching the debate from Karen. I must say, quite insightful. Hussein Senior Lovely, he's asking, no, not lovely, Hussein Senior Lively, what a name. You say, what about Jua Kali people? That is his question. Sabasi Moindi, Mr. President, there he goes, all the way, we are behind you, sir. And we have Masara Kevin just giving us a thumbs up. Thank you so much. David Opio, you say you're tuned in from Kisumu. Thank you for creating time. I'll be sampling your views and your questions, of course, this morning as we continue. I'm talking and having this conversation with the Friday Kinara. Friday, what about Jua Kali people, very quickly, as you respond to that? Any agenda, any idea that you have for the Jua Kali people and generally those who could be in this cadre of the job market?
The greatest especially hope I would love to give, especially to the Jua Kali people, is for the government to give them an assurance that whatever they will be able to produce
it shall consume. It shall consume. Because let me tell you, the one who has the connection and the resources is the government. It is the one that is able to open up the international market, and it is the one that is able to provide, to be able to tell the people to live to the international kind of skills that they're able to produce. So for especially for the Jua Kali people, if the Jua Kali people, it's the assurance that it will give them, that if the Jua Kali people, that whatever you are able to produce, we as a government, we shall be able to consume, in the sense that we have the network. The government has a network. It is able to transport that what particular that what you have produced to South Africa. It is able to consume it in their schools. For example, let me say a simple example, especially for desks. If me as a Jua Kali artisan, I'm able to produce desks for the schools, and I'm able to make like for 1,000 desks for schools, and I'm able to sell those 1,000 desks, one are going for 1,000 shillings. That's how much? That's like $1 million. Now, where do I take those 1,000 desks if the government is not be able to consume? If I'm looking for a private market, for a private institution to be able to take those desks, I'm really limited to what I will be able to look for. Of course, I may find a private school that is setting up and want to consume those private desks. But if I have the assurance that if I put hard work and produce 1,000 desks, then I can be able to bid it to the government, and the government can be able to come in and consume those 1,000 desks and distribute, and has the capacity to take them all the way to Marsabit and distribute in the institutions there. So for me, especially the kind of assurance that I want the government to give, especially for the Jua Kali people, for whatever they produce, since it is taking them to the institution to get the skills, the TVET skills, for whatever then the assurance is be able to do them to them is that for whatever they produce, they are be able to consume. Because it will be very dishonest actually when they get to the point of them telling them that we are training for you to be able to produce this particular kind of product, when there is no one to consume that product.
But you know, we have to give credit where it's due. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw the government really engaging the Jua Kali sector in the manufacture of beds for the hospitals, and guys had a chance to present themselves, if in case they can be able to help the government have achieved the capacity of beds that they required. There was also an opening during when the schools reopened, and the government was investing in terms of ensuring there is social distance in schools, and there were desks that were supposed to be manufactured that will be used under this unique COVID-19 circumstances in schools. The Jua Kali sector was invited, of course, to be part of this. We saw when the government was implementing the affordable housing project, and the government was very categorical that the doors, the windows, and whatever is going to be used in that particular project is going to be coming from our local Jua Kali sector. Are we going in the right direction? Is that sort of what you're describing? We cannot just say that it's all
for that
doom
one,
and gloom.
For that one,
it's doom and gloom, and we've done nothing completely.
And it's actually amazing that it only had to bring in the pandemic for them to be able to start doing that, because this is exactly what they are supposed to be doing on a daily basis. We should not wait upon the pandemic to be here for them to be able to look into the local Jua Kali sector, for them to be able to start consuming in the first place. I think that's exactly the initiative. For that one, I give credit to the government for whatever they did.
It's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction, and that is the more other steps that should be taken in the right direction. And actually, they should be able now to diversify that, so that we don't have just one particular person be able to produce that. We should be having someone either even in the Kisii County producing that, another one in Marsabit, another one in Trans Nzoia producing the same, and the government should be able to consume from all those various quarters in the first place. So for me, really, that's exactly what I want to say, that the way to promote the Jua Kali industry, the way to promote the Jua Kali industry is for them to be able to assure them that there will be already market. For them the way to be able to market even for a farmer is to be able to assure him that if he goes to farming, any young person who goes to farming, that is able to get a readily available market for farming. They can be able to sell their farm products to the private consumers, but even when they fail to sell their farm produce to the private consumers, then they should have a backfall where they know that the government will come for them and will be able to consume that which they have put efforts to produce. So that is then we have where government advocates itself and says, we as the government, we are the consumers. You are as our people. We empower you to be producers for us. So that we are concerned about providing the international markets, and we are concerned about doing the connection within ourselves. And that is basically where our ministries should be set. Our ministries of governance should be about consumption and connection for our people. It should not be about this, more, of course, I understand it is more managerial, which is of course basic, that we should be able to have a smooth running of all the systems in place. But even more, what we should be able to stand, it is more of consumers. So that the young people then know that whatever idea they have, they can be able to pitch it to the government. The government will be able to pick it up from them and advance them. And they can be able to be assured that whatever we go to produce, the government will be able to consume.
All right, let me take you back a little bit. So you have this very beautiful idea for the country, and you strongly feel that you're the right person to lead. So there's you on this side, there's this idea that you want to, this promise you want to deliver. In between, there is this in between, the game plan, how you're going to make sure that you marry these two, that you're there and you can actually deliver and fulfill your promise for the country. Have you checked how you're going to work this out? Earlier, before we took the break, you had cited the financial challenge or the financial misconception, let me use that term, that people have, that if you don't have money, then you cannot be a leader, and you explained that. So talk to us about the dynamics that come when you want to be a leader in this country, and you're young as yourself. Do you know the dynamics that are at play, and what are you going to do about them?
The challenge is especially that the young people are always facing when it comes to asking for leadership position, especially like an example is me. Now that I want to ask for the presidency of this country.
You know what it is.
I know what exactly, the way the Kenyan, the way the notions, the kind of they have. I recently actually was watching Manyora, Hamanya Manyora was saying that the particular boxes that have to be ticked when it comes to the leadership position, when you want to ask for, especially like presidency. And one of the box that the people always ask is the finances box. Do you have the finances that it takes to be able to ask for the presidency of this nation?
Do you?
And that is actually, that's the point I'm getting to there. That is actually, it is a propaganda that is always propagated by the rich, so that these positions are always meant for the people who are wealthy, and so the young people may never stand a chance, and if you're poor, you may never stand a chance to lead. I want to say that is a propaganda that is really steered away. Let me tell you the truth.
So how is it that
Obama, when he became the president of a nation, that he was really rich like Trump? That is not the case. It is because the people who are really be able to passionately share with what he had presented to the people.
So what you're saying, you don't need resources to mount a campaign?
You don't need resources, you need honesty.
For the nationwide tours, to convince the populace to vote for you, to be here, to be there. You don't need resources for you to be able to mount a campaign to convince the country to vote for you as president. Is that what you're saying?
If the people believe in your agenda for the nation, they will be able to subscribe in their own small way to be able to, and they'll be able to provide those enablers for you in the very first place. Do not underestimate the power of the people when they believe in someone. They don't have to get to the resources when they believe in you. You will be able to provide. They will be able to provide those platforms for you. They will be able to provide those resources for you. And actually, the more reason actually now those who are propagating for the leadership position, because they have the limelight, is because they are able to propel themselves.
All right. So for those who are watching you this morning and they are asking, we've seen your opponents traversing from one part of the country to the other. They were in the coastal region, others were in the Mount Kenya region. You know, things are happening. Where is Friday Kinara? Where are you? What are you doing? Where have you been? What would you tell those people?
I want to tell them that Friday is coming. Friday has just made a decision. We have just made a decision that now it is no longer the time. It is time to make real the promises that were given to us since the independence of our nation. We are not going to sit back and see ourselves suffer for the few days that we have. For a man has to live few days that we live. We are no longer going to sit and say that we are, because we don't have those resources, that we are going to sit for us, that we are not going to be in a position to be able to traverse this country. And I'm telling the honest truth that we are going to appeal to the people. The people will provide the enablers for us to be able to traverse this entire nation. And this is at the point where I make the appeal. The young people are facing the financial challenges especially, but I have faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I know that grace is the merited favor that we receive from God. God shall make a way where there seems to be no way. And He's just said, take the very first bold step and I will make a way for you. You will be able to stand out and will be able to reach to the people. So I'm telling the people that wherever they have, if you have a dream, if you have a dream to serve this country, if you have a dream to do anything great for this country, do not be limited by the notion that you have to have the resources for you to be able to start. Most people started from just taking that simple step of faith. And this is the step of faith that I'm bringing forth and saying, if it is about resources, if it's about the resources that we have, and those who have resources now, they're telling us that because we don't have the resources, we don't have the right to be able to ask for the presidency of this nation because they have the resources, we are telling them that you are wrong. Leadership is a gift that you have given from God. And God knows that if He has put that conviction in your heart, He knows He'll provide ways that you will be able to reach out to every single person in this country, to every single corner in this country, and is able to give that platform to be able to share to them.
That is not an obstacle.
That is not an obstacle. And the connection, connection aspect that you say that people have to have you have to have a connection.
You cannot operate in a vacuum.
Exactly.
There is the political party structures, there is the systems, there is the political party nominations for your political party to endorse you and to give you that go ahead that you can vie using our tagline. Are you in that process, or yours is a different journey?
The greatest connection that I want to have is a connection of ideas. That is the passionate really that I have. For me, I don't want to know the who is who. For as long as I know who is God to my life, I'm good with that. I don't want to have the connection for people who will hold me ransom once I'm in that position, because they'll be able to trade in. The connection, these people that you call about connection, they come with a lot of interest. And these are the people that will eventually make you compromise when you're already in that position. Because you want to implement a certain kind of policy that serves the interests of the people. And because you were in that position, because you were propelled by those connections, those are chains that will hold you down. I'm telling the people that the greatest connection that you just simply can have is God on your side, and be honest with yourself.
So you don't believe in political parties?
I don't believe in
forming
connection.
Coalitions to achieve whatever agenda you have for the country?
Exactly. I don't subscribe to connections, especially connection of party connections, that where you have to collaborate together, this party, they're really built up on, of the honest truth, they're built up on tribal lines. It is tribal lines that because you come from Ukambani, come with this party, so that when you come with this party, really you're bringing the Ukambani vote. Because you come from Central Kenya, Mount Kenya, come with this party, you are bringing this kind of tribal unity. That is not what I want to subscribe to. That is not the kind of connection I have. And that is why for me...
How do you think this has affected our electoral process and the crop of leadership that we're having in this country?
Because
this belief, this system that we have used over the years.
Yeah, because then we have parties that are built up on if you have a party that is built up on the wrong pillars in the first place, how do you expect that it will be able to deliver to the Kenyan people the right kind of things that they want? Because this kind of parties, these kind of parties are first of all built on tribal lines. They are propagated by one person who is a tribal kingpin of that very particular place, and that is the interest. If they come into power, they're saying that as from a very particular tribal line, we have this interest. This is the kind of connection we want to give to you. And as from this tribal line, we have this party. This is our party, and this is the kind of connection. The other day, I heard in the news someone was saying that the alliance, the Kenyan, this new Kenyan alliance that is being formed recently, and someone was saying that in that equation you don't have the Mount Kenya equation, so you need also to have someone from the Mount Kenya in the first place in that. And I want to tell Kenyans honestly, let us have an honest conversation. Avoid these things that let us have coalitions of tribal coalitions in the first place. We want coalitions of ideas. That is exactly what we're looking for. We don't want a collisions of tribal lines have been the problems in our country. So we are suffering because of tribal lines, and the problems we want to solve is about on tribal lines.
All right. So from what I'm understanding is you are going to be vying as an independent.
Exactly.
No political party.
Definitely.
You're vying as an independent candidate.
For now, yes.
But if you become president, you're not going to operate in a vacuum. You will work with people in this government. How are you going to go about this? You don't believe in political parties. You seem not to believe in the structures that we have, that we use to have people in power. How are you going to work with these people who've been elected through the same structures that you're criticizing?
I don't believe in political parties to the extent that those political parties are tribal parties that are really trying to have a share in governance in the first place. I believe in political parties when they represent ideas. So for example, I will be able to ask this kind of, if God, by God's grace, I clinch the presidential position in the first place, and then I will be able to ask certain particular political parties, what are your ideas in the first place? What is these ideas that you're selling to me that you want to serve the people? So that I don't look at political ideas in terms of the interest they're presenting and the various quarters they're presenting from their tribal lines, but I'm able to look to political ideas in terms of what ideas they're presenting forth. And let me ask you honestly, the truth is this. Recently, we had elections in Kiambaa between proper parties that were really on the forefront were between Jubilee and UDA. And the truth and the honest truth in the entire nation, that if we ask our people today, what were the ideas of Jubilee in the Kiambaa election, and what were the ideas of UDA in the Kiambaa election? You see, people do not have a representation of ideas in the election. It was about parties. If anything, the people of Kiambaa, I want to be very honest, the people of Kiambaa lost because they never got the opportunity for them to be able to be shared with the aspect, the ideas. What were the ideas of UDA in that election? Assuming something like that happens, who is at fault at this particular point? Is it the voter or the person who is seeking to be the leader in that particular region? So that when we go to 2022 and we are trying to elect the next crop of leadership, and you're talking about we should put ideas on the table, we are better empowered to know what our role in the electoral system is. Who is to blame in this equation, and how do we enlighten our populace in terms of what their role is in this whole process? When we go especially for seeking for those elective positions, I place the blame partly on the people, but even partly more. Yeah, because you voted as well. In as much as it could be party politics, it could have been about ideas, who knows? But you voted yourself at the end of the day. You're the one who made that mark on that ballot paper. So who do you hold accountable for that particular decision? For as much as we really will want to put that blame on the people, because the people are the voters at the end of the day, they're the people who make decisions. But we need to get to the point now, the leaders understand the kind of people they're dealing with. These are people who have lost their livelihood. They're people who have lost their dignity. They're people who have lost their ability to have an independent kind of thinking. So as a leader, you need to have the best interest of the people at heart. You as a leader who is really seeking for the leadership position in that very particular area. You know, I was at a moment to see on how the campaign was done in that area. It was more of loud music, more of abusive language, and I wonder those greater proponents, and they were pitching. It was more of a controversy between this party, the personality of this person and the personality of the other person. That is not right. You as leaders who are endowed with wisdom, understanding, and insight, you should be able to be fair to the people. people, love the people to the extent and say, honestly speaking, on this one, we just want to come with ideas that we want to. These are our ideas. I saw the caravans of those people who are seeking for those leadership positions. It was more of pomp and color, where they call the likes of Bahati to sing for them songs. It was hype and color, pomp and color, really glamour, noise making. It is about abusive language. That's the kind of side shows. That's the kind of leadership that we are exposed to the young people. And it is taking a whole day of the people not really sharing about what the people are affecting about. And I must insist, and I have to probably do the civic education to the people now, that honestly, people of this country, when leaders come to seek for elective position, because they are going to end up making very pertinent decisions, very major decisions that will affect you, very major decisions that will affect your livelihood and the livelihood of your children's children, and they will batter away with your inheritance. I want to call upon, to make an appeal to the people that seek for ideas and ideas only. Let an election end and say that the reason why we believe UDA carried the day in Kiamba is because these were the ideas and these were the ideas of Jubilee. And I want the honest, the personalities in journalism, go to the ground in Kiamba and ask yourself and do the honest interview. If what were the ideas of Jubilee in this election and what were the ideas of UDA in this election? The people will be very blank, because for them it was presented to them, it is the hype between, if you vote for UDA, you're voting for the incoming William Ruto, and if you vote for Jubilee, you're serving the interest of Uhuru Kenyatta, of women and all that. That is, leadership should not be reduced to personalities. It should be reduced to ideas and ideas only.
Ideas. Now that you're talking about ideas, I want you to tell me, even just four ideas that you have for the country. Just put them clearly out there, lay them out there. What is that for priority areas that you feel as Friday Kinara, as we speak this particular morning, this is what Kenya needs and this is what I am willing to offer if I'm given a chance to lead?
4 ideas that honestly I'm willing to offer. And for this, if God will bring us leaders into judgment, then I need to stand in my judgment day and say that this is the vow. And I not only make this vow to the Kenyan people, but I want even more to make this vow to the Lord. That for me, especially when it comes, if there is a leader, if he solves for me 4 things that I believe, then I will honestly believe that he has served the interest of the Kenyan people. The first idea is that if we have a leader who will say that we, as a nation, we are going to produce and manufacture more than 80% of what we locally consume. If that percentage is going to be more than 80%, so that we have a lot of manufacturing companies within our boundaries that manufacture the kind of things that we produce, that we consume, and even we export. For that reason, we will have created employment for each and every Kenyan. If we have more than 80%, you know, the reason why the first world countries are first world countries and we are purportedly called third world countries is because they consume more than 80, they produce more than 80% of what they consume. The first one, that is the promise that I would really love, and that is the kind of ideas that I'm looking forward for people to be able to share. That once they're put into service, they're able to have a government that produces more than 80% of what the nation produces, consumes. And secondly, this is what I want to say. The second thing that I want to say, the basic needs, what I consider to be the basic needs of the people. And the basic needs for me are 5 things. They are really shelter, clothing, food, education, and health. These should be free. They should be free. They should be free all the way from primary school to secondary school to the higher learning institution. If it is health, it should be free. Whether your loved one is sick of cancer, whether he's sick of anything, it should be able to walk into a health facility and it should be able to be provided for free. The shelter, it should be upon the prerogative of the government to create something like mortgage, so whereby the people will be able to provide a shelter. The 5 basic things that I consider very basic to the people, they should be free. And when it comes to once I've spoken about consuming, producing 80% of what we really consume. I've spoken about the 5 basic needs that I believe that the government should be able to make free for the people. Then there is the issue of unemployment. There is the issue of unemployment, whereby the majority of the young people are unemployed. Honestly speaking, no government should sit comfortably if it has the majority of its young people are unemployed. You know what it says? It says that the future of the country is at stake. That's what it says. That for me, especially for the unemployment, I will want a government that says, that does the daily briefs on how it is improving the percentage all from below 50% to at least 90%, where there are job employments for the young people. And this should be an assurance that the government is doing, and it should be able to tell us the measures that it is taking on a very daily basis to be able to alleviate the level of unemployment of the young people in this country. And one more thing that I will want to say. I will want a government that pays the local debt and international debts that we have. For example, the local debts that we have. An honest government should not be owing people the local debts that we have. Fine, the international is something that we can negotiate, but the local, it's about its people in the first place. It's to be able to empower the people. And lastly, one of the things that I have to say is this: the justice system in our country. Why do we have the justice system that takes where you have a case that takes more than years in the courts in the first place? I will want to empower the justice system where it is just 7 months, whether it is a civil matter or a criminal matter. It doesn't take more than 7 months, especially when it comes to any litigations that you have in court. That is the kind of system that we should be having. If we have the right justice system in place, I'm telling you, where the people know if you're corrupt, you will be jailed. If you are corrupt, your case is not going to stay in the court in the corridors of court more than 7 months. I'm telling you, the people will now start being honest to themselves. They will stand for the right. They will start walking on the right paths. The reason why the people don't even fear the justice system is because they say, if my case can drag honestly for 10 years, so what fear is that? I will have really amassed enough. I'm able in a position to steal. So we need to provide and empower our justice system. We need to empower justice system.
So right now we are big on an economic recovery strategy, courtesy of the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought an economic downturn. So many people lost their jobs, businesses were closed down. We've seen big hotels, even here in Nairobi, they've closed shop, and people are just struggling to stay afloat. So each and every person who says they have the interest of Kenya at heart is really sensitive to the economy and the economic situation right now.
Yes.
What is it that you have on the table with regards to the economic recovery plan?
One of the things I have to say, and this I have to appeal to the presidency. I respect the president of our nation, because any person should be able to exercise that respect. He holds the interest of our nation at heart. He is the leading one we have given him to that leading role, and this is what I honestly want to make an honest appeal, especially in the recovery of the economy post-COVID now that we're saying. I want to say, Mr. President, kindly, it is high time you open up the nation. It is high time you open up the economy of the nation. It is high time that the night economy now, so that we are able to have the night economy in place. For as much as it seems that the COVID is going to be here with us for a very long time, but we need to put those measures in place. We need to wear our mask and sanitize our hands and try and practice social distance whenever we can. But the honest truth that we need to have, and this I must say, that it is time for us to open our nation. The night curfew, I'm appealing to the president. Open up the night curfew. The young people are suffering tremendously because of the night curfew that is in place. Let us open our nation. It is time to open up especially though you were saying even in the hotelier industry, it is on its knees right now. It is on its knees. For me, I believe in this strategic of opening up again our economy. The measures that have been taken, it's not like we don't appreciate the measures the government has taken. The government has played a big role in the measures that it has taken, but it has now come a time where we need to have an honest conversation, and the honest conversation about is we are no longer going to exercise these curfews that we have. It is time that the presidency opens up the country, and it is time, especially with the wearing of mask. I know that we should wear a mask whenever we can, but it is time for us to repeal that law, so that something like wearing a mask, honestly, it is done out of the self motivation that the people have, but it's not done out of the fear that you'll be arrested. You'll be arrested if you don't wear what? A mask.
But did it have to get there though? If we were responsible as Kenyans, if you were responsible, did it have to get there?
We need to understand the kind of people.
Could the law have been put in place if we were responsible in the first place?
And that is why sometimes I believe that the leadership doesn't have really attached with the reality in the ground. The truth is, currently the common Kenyan citizen is wearing a mask because he fears the police. He fears. Statistically, go to the ground and ask yourself why most people don't feel that they're motivated to do that, because it is out of their taking the measures. Because they need to get to a point where the government needs to be honest and tells the people, we love you and we have taken these measures because of the love that we want to have for you, and because of this we ask you kindly do it on your own volition. Do it so that once it takes out that measure whereby there is the kind of jailing because of a mask, really, then the people will be able to feel free to do that.
I believe it started at that point of love, that point of concern, and it was the failure of Kenyans to take up responsibility that pushed the government to now become punitive about it. For those who do not want to do it, then you're going to be punished. I believe it started all, it was voluntary, and everybody else understood why we were doing it, but it was because at some point as a society we just became reckless, and the government had to really do something to crack the whip to ensure that we do the right thing, something that we know we are supposed to do. But I know that's a conversation for another day. Let's leave the COVID and the masks aside. Aside from just opening up the night economy, I want to understand from you, what is it that you feel you will do to ensure that we bounce back economically in this nation if you're given a chance to lead?
One of the ways, especially for us to bounce back economically, if from this COVID-19 pandemic that has really affected the economy of our nation, is probably we need to get to where are our pillars of our nation, what is it that really is the backbone of this nation that we need to capitalize, that we need, so that we may be able to bring our nation into the right condition where we are able to internationally be able to be recognized as a nation that is no longer experiencing that strenuous kind of pain and suffering and sorrows in the first place. It's one of the ways that we have neglected, especially the agriculture aspect of our nation, and I feel this has greatly been neglected as a nation. For as much as I know that there's great effort that is being put there, the Galana Kulali, it has gone, it is no longer there in place. But this is what I want to say. The government then needs to get to the point, and the way I insisted in the first place, especially one of the backbone of our nation is things like farming. The government needs to get to a place and say, in this recovery, as we are recovering the economy, especially now that agriculture is one of our pillars, it should be able to say that we want to offer it to all the farmers. We want to offer it to all the farmers right now. And we want to set up markets, government markets in the first place. That if any farmer within the boundaries of our nation goes and farms, whatever you farm, if you farm carrots or you farm potatoes or anything, there is a government market within your reach, especially if government can go ahead and set something like government markets within each and every ward. So that it says that for every farmer, we want to give them this assurance that anything that you produce, we shall be able to do what? to take it into our market, which is the government market in the first place, so that we're able to do value addition and we are able to identify where the need is, so that we may be able to supply to that very particular need, and we're able to open an international market for the same. So I believe then it will be able to empower, number one, the farmers this way, in the sense that if any farmer goes to farming, and this is something that I want to be able to passionately be able to appeal, especially to the government, that most of the young people now that they are lack of unemployment, give them the assurance and let them register with you that if they're able to go to farming, whatever they will produce, they're able to take it to the government market, and the government market will be able to consume. The young people will no longer be jobless. Then they will be able to produce for themselves. They'll be able to empower the economy in that sense. Number one, that was in respect to the agricultural aspect that we have. One of the other aspects that especially it empowers our nation as a nation is the mining aspect that we have of our nation. And we need then to be able to now, as we are going to do a recovery from the pandemic, there are many other resources that we have for, especially for mining, which apparently they are not utilized. Apparently we have not even identified those very locality for the same. Especially things like in Kisi we have what we call a soapstone, so that it needs to assure the people who carve there in soapstone that whatever you will carve, the kind of carving you'll be able to produce, there is market and we'll be able to consume. And we need to now, the government now needs to be proactive so that it is able to produce, to make market for the same. So for the better part of it, even when it comes to mining, it needs to make government markets of mining, so that the people can go for mining, and whenever they come with those artisans, they are able to bring them to the government facility of mining, and the government is able to do that kind of marketing, the international marketing itself. And lastly, before you even bring the question in the place, look at the kind of artists that we have of our nation. The young people are artistic and they're able to have the talents of artistic. We don't have a government facility that says we will consume the artistic designs of the young people, so that even they're able to hang the portraits in the government facility in the first place, because the government has been able to consume that and be able to, to promote the talents of the people. I feel the way to recover is to be able to invite the people now. It is time for you to produce, and it is time for us to consume and to look for the connection and the market in the first place.
Okay. I don't know whether Kenyans will believe in your vision, but that's a matter of wait and see. Wait for 2022 to see whether they will. But as we're just about to wrap up this conversation, Friday, talk to the young people, because everything we have been discussing here is about their plight and what they are going through, and how that has not been met by going by what we have today in terms of leadership from where you sit. I want you to talk to young people as we gear to we head towards 2022, where we are going to be having a chance to elect our new leaders. What do you think is their role in this process? What should they be doing between now and when we are going to be electing those leaders?
One of the things that I'm very passionate, and especially I'm appealing to the young people, and this is what I want to speak to the young people, and I want to be very honest and candid with the young people and tell them this: we don't have a lifetime to live in this world. We don't have eternity to live in this world. Life is short and brief. For a matter of fact, we may not live more than 100 years in the first place. And this is what I want to put to the young people of this country, that we need to take a control of our lives. For the very first time, the young people, let us ask ourselves honestly, whenever we go to vote, how we voted for this person because we have listened to his ideas and we can relate that this person has the solution for us as young people? Or are we voting for this person because he has made us to cheer on the road, because he has brought us t-shirt we have worn and bought us alcohol and bought us, we have made a lot of noise voice and because we believe in the parties that whatever he has called us in the first place? Or are we voting for these very young people because it is based on ideas? He has the best interest of us at heart. It is very disheartening that at the end of the day, after that election, the people that will take the leadership position will make very significant decisions that will affect the livelihoods of the young people. So the first thing that I want to appeal to the young people, be very honest and truth to yourself and ask yourself, honestly speaking, have I voted this person because I've been persuaded beyond reasonable doubt that he has the best interest of me as a young person, he relates with the pains and suffering and the sorrows of a young person, and he has the best ideas of a young person, and he is going to really solve the problems that the young people are facing? Or is it because I have cast my vote based on a tribal card, based on not only tribal card, based on the favorite narratives that are being peddled by the leadership that is going for? That is the one thing that I want the young people to ask themselves. And secondly, I want the young people to be really ask themselves, when it is coming to this election, the kind of leaders that we are voting, do they have the good qualities that we are looking for? The honest qualities of integrity, qualities of humility, qualities of honesty, quality of calling sin by its right name, qualities of standing for the right thing, qualities of a leader who's God-fearing in the first place, qualities of a leader who has the right principles in the first place, qualities of a leader who's honestly speaking to the pains and telling the young people that let us base this campaign on nothing else than principles, nothing else than ideas, nothing else than that one who is facing the common pains of the young people. And as we are coming to this, the next year's general election, of course we have yet to open up for the campaign of the general election. Now it's basically just sharing ideas and the kind of ideologies that we are looking for in the leadership. That kind of ideas, and I want to ask the young people to ask themselves, the leaders who are asking for the leadership position right now, especially those who are seeking for the presidency of this country, because those are the ones that I can relate with them, are they facing the common pains that you are facing? If they're saying that they will be able, these leaders who are facing, especially, and let me quickly say them. If you say Raila Odinga, or you say William Ruto, or you say Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula, or you say Mutisia Kitui, and recently I've heard Jimmy Wanjigi. If you see those kind of people, the likes of them, honestly, these kind of people for the last 10 years, they have never known what it means to the pain of putting food on the table. They have never known the pain of even, I keep on insisting, of even paying rent when you're lack of an employment. They don't know that pain. They may have experienced that pain in the past, but they have lost touch with that pain right now. And we are not saying that they are not the right leaders because they don't have the pain and the experience, but right now, because we are in so much looking for the ones, Mr. Fix-It, we want one who is experiencing the same pains that we're experiencing, one that we can relate with.
All right. Passionately spoken concerning your vision for the country and the issues that young people are facing and their role in the leadership of this particular country. Friday Kinara, we appreciate your time, and of course a lot has been happening in the country. We have just been witnessing what has been happening in the political space, and leaders sharing their agenda for the country, their agenda for the nation. I want you to sort of just tell us as your final word, looking at what is happening in the country right now, I would say sort of early campaigns. What is your opinion about that, and when are you going to start your own?
The reason actually I've not started my campaign because at least me, I'm a law-abiding citizen. The president says that there are no campaigns. That's what the president said. And because of the COVID-19 measures that the government has taken in place. But you see, that it's so sad that the government as well goes ahead and allows other leaders to be able to run campaigns in the name of the likes that they're running. They're already now starting to do campaigns, and yet even the IBC has not even said that it is time for us to start doing the campaigns in the first place. But we are seeing the proponents of those people who are seeking for leadership position have started doing for the campaign. campaigns. At least number one, I'm trying to obey the government of the day when it says that it's not time to run for campaigns. And number two, I want the government to be very honest then, so that it doesn't, if it allows other people to start running for campaigns, so that next time I'm also in town trying to share about my ideas, I don't end up in them starting to cuff me, so that be saying because I started running the campaigns, yet they don't even cuff those who are doing the campaigns, especially the leading proponents of those who are seeking for presidential aspirations of this country. So for me, the first thing I really want to say that let us not quickly get into the campaign mood. But if we have to, let us get it be fair. Let the president announce that now it is time, if you are willing and if you have an interest, go outrightly and speak to the people.
I don't think that is within his mandate though, but thank you for creating time for us, Friday Kinara.
Maybe lastly, before we go for
very quickly, because we ran out of time.
Lastly, before we go to the I'm just appealing to the people that they are able to vote for the right leader. This coming election, I will be vying for the presidency of this nation. I represent the interest of the youth. I represent the interest of the nation. I represent the interest of those who are feeling where the shoe paints. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching the program so far. That is how we wrap it up. Thank you for creating time and also for interacting with us on social media. Right now we are going to be paving way for the Swahili team to be taking it over from here. Kurunzi Mashinani coming up, Tamrini also later coming up your way. Do stay with us. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma.
Nissan Serena ndio hii, na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS, alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Kupata skiza tune ya Karau na DJ, bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash.
Raya, hii ni kwa matiche wote. Please, do not confuse the government. Usianza kufinya ile kitu inasema more fire, ama ile ya the roof is on fire, ama unaanza kusema we are killing this party, ama the party is just a bomb, we are having a blast. No. Wewe cheza musiki and just be Fitland. Enjoy, ama namna kani. Sawa. Over and out.
Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Star 811 star 967 hash.
Ipepete. Yo, mambo vipi watu wangu popote pale mlipo, nasema asanteni sana jamaa kwa kujiunga na mimi kila wakati kupitia kipindi Top Mashariki kupitia Channel 1, au sio? Nambari 1 mtu wangu nchini Kenya, KBC. Kama vipi mtu wangu, nasema asanteni sana jamaa. Kumbukeni kwamba Top Mashariki kuanzia hii wiki, yani this coming week mazee, itakuwa inakujia kila siku ya Jumanne saa 4